So having looked at the way to deal with a crosswind, a side wind, we're now going to start looking at the wind where it's into your face and where it's down the breeze as well. Now I think this is probably one of the biggest factors for misjudging distances on the golf course, is people don't take account of how much the wind is blowing. Certainly at the top of its flight, the ball gets very, very much affected by the strength of the wind. Now, if you've got a flag and it's just rustling slightly and it's blowing away from the flagpole a little bit, I would class that as a one club wind. Effectively meaning that if you're playing into that wind, you're going to be one club more, and down the wind, probably one club less. I don't know whether you can see how windy it is today, but my shirt's blowing a little bit. The flags in the background are sticking straight out from the flagpole and blowing quite viciously. I would suggest today's wind strength is around about a 2.5 to 3 club wind. So into the breeze, I'm going to be 2.5 to 3 clubs more, and then down the wind, 2.5 to 3 clubs less. So if you can practice in the wind, hopefully you'll be able to judge how strong the wind is and how many clubs you need to allow for that wind. Now the higher you hit the golf ball, the more the wind is going to affect the ball flight. So if you can keep the ball flight down a little bit, that's definitely going to help you when you're playing on those windy days. So we can change the ball flight by a couple of ways. We can change the ball flight by changing our golf club a little bit. So like we talked about before, hit 1 or 2 clubs more when you're playing into a crosswind or into a headwind. But also you could change your ball flight. Moving your ball position will affect your ball flight. So a normal 5-iron, as I have here, a normal 5-iron ball position would be nicely up into the front half of the stance. I would normally turn through, sweep that ball away, and it would fly quite high with a reasonable amount of backspin. To change that ball flight to bring it down a little bit, I'm actually going to play the ball from the centre of my feet. Don't really want to investigate having the ball too far back. Having it too far back often results in people leaning back as they hit the golf ball, and therefore even hitting the ball even higher. So we want to play the ball around about the centre of the stance. At that setup, we can place a little bit of extra body weight on the front foot, taking the hands nicely over that front leg. Then as we go ahead and make our swing, we ensure that we get back in front of the golf ball. Feel like you're trying to keep your hands in front of the ball, take an extra couple of degrees off the club, making sure that you do take a nice strong divot after the ball. Any divot behind the ball would result in the ball going too high, too short. Any leaning back is going to flick the ball into the air as well. So feel like your hands are nicely positioned ahead, a little bit of body weight ahead, ball in the centre, and then really keep on top of the golf ball. Practice on the driving range, drilling the golf ball as low as possible, and see how that affects the distance of the shot if it's playing into the wind, and also see how it affects the direction of the shot if you've got a side wind, so a crosswind right to left, left to right. If you're keeping the ball lower, it will be less affected. For those downwind holes, we don't really change the swing all that much, we just change the club selection. So down the wind, we're probably going to be on a windy day like today, 2 or 2.5, 3 clubs less. The swing's going to maintain nice and smooth. Just flip the ball into the air and try and account for the landing area. It's probably not going to spin and stop as quickly, so the landing area needs to be much more towards the front of the green. So pick your landing area, pick the club selection, keep the swing smooth when you're playing downwind, and see if you can judge it to get the right distance. Enjoy playing in the wind.